All right, let's talk Green Bay Packers. Look, now that the draft and the undrafted free agent cycle, for pretty much the most part at this point, is behind us, we can take a step back. And we like to do this with every team and evaluate all the moves they made and look for those hidden gems, that great values, those massive playmakers that people are maybe sleeping on. And there's one Packers move in particular that looks very exciting for Green Bay. In fact, the Green Bay organization itself believes they've got a special player here. We'll get to this report in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick, that's Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, talking about the Packers, it was a solid draft. I think there's a lot of players to really like, especially when you get into the later rounds. But what happened after the draft was very interesting. The Packers made a big move. They found a guy that they think was a huge steal, and they're going aggressive after him, and they got him. Let's get into this report, and then we'll break down the data on the other side. This is courtesy of Packers Wire. The Green Bay Packers guaranteed $115,000 to undrafted free agent signing Jonathan Baldwin, a versatile defensive back out of UNLV, according to Rob Demovsky of ESPN. The guaranteed money includes a $15,000 signing bonus and $100,000 guaranteed in 2025. That's a big chunk, obviously, for an undrafted free agent. Teams often use guaranteed money to win bidding wars over undrafted players following the draft. Baldwin, who is coming off a terrific senior season, was clearly a prioritized player for several teams, and the Packers used guaranteed money to get him to Green Bay. All right, so it's very clear that the Packers were very high on Jonathan Baldwin. He fell out of the draft, and look, that can happen sometimes. You've got other priorities. Things happen in the draft, and good players fall out. It just happens all the time. It's only a 7-round draft. It's not like it's the 90s and there's 12 rounds or whatever. And the Packers truly believe Jonathan Baldwin could be a special player. And look, there's reason to believe that. In fact, Baldwin's numbers and his data, the analytics, especially if you look at his PFF grades here, are very, very favorable, even when compared against top prospects. Let's go into our first chart here, comparing Baldwin's numbers versus first-round defensive backs. We're talking about Malachi Starks and Maxwell Hairston. Now, to be fair, we're using Hairston's 2023 numbers because he was injured for a massive chunk of 2024. So let's go ahead and make sure we can go through this chart here. Baldwin's in blue, Hairston's in red, and Malachi Starks is in that yellow goldish thing. You can see their overall PFF grade on the left. Very, very similar. Again, this is Baldwin, undrafted free agent, versus first rounders. Very, very similar. You've got Hairston and Starks a little bit better, but Baldwin's within the ballpark. In terms of coverage grade, Hairston's really good. Baldwin's a little bit better than the first rounder, Malachi Starks. Very interesting. In terms of tackling, you've got Hairston, Baldwin, similar ballpark there. Malachi Starks is off the charts. And here in run defense, you can see Baldwin's lacking a little bit there with Hairston and Starks. But again, we're not talking about a crazy leap here. We're talking about a guy here based on his data that's maybe a little bit worse than these first round guys. And again, a little bit worse than first round usually means second round, third round, something like that. Not undrafted. So you talk about incredible value, you talk about potential steal. There's a reason the Packers are excited they got Jonathan Baldwin when you look at numbers like this. But let's compare Baldwin with some of the mid-rounders here. Let's go to our second chart here. And this is, again, using PFF grades, comparing Justin Wally, who went in the third round, and Lathan Ransom, who went in the fourth. So let's look at mid-rounders here. Overall grade, you can see Baldwin a hair below Ransom and well above Wally. Again, Baldwin, undrafted. Wally, third round, Ransom, fourth round. So Baldwin is basically at the same level as Ransom and much better than Wally. So again, you talk about undrafted free agent value. This is what you're talking about. How about coverage grade? I think the most important thing, we can all agree for defensive backs, Baldwin is better than both Wally and Ransom, who were drafted again, third and fourth round respectively. You go to tackling grade, Baldwin better than Wally. Ransom just a little bit better than Baldwin, but same ballpark. And run defense grade, again, Baldwin better than Wally. Ransom, really, really good run defender. That's why he was drafted at all. I think he's a great run defending safety. He's really high up the charts there. But what did the data on this chart and the previous one basically tell you? It tells you that Baldwin is just a really, really darn good football player. He should have been drafted in the third, fourth, fifth round. Now, there were some reasons why there's some concerns. He didn't test particularly well, right? His athletic scores and how he did at the pro day combine stuff really concerned a lot of people. And look, I get it. But the reality is he was a really good football player, and he's trending up, and he was doing it throughout his collegiate career, getting better and better and better. So the Packers right here got a guy based on the analytics who's somewhere between a first-round talent and a fourth-round talent when it comes to how he plays on the football field. That's why the Packers were excited to give him money. That's why they're excited he's with this Green Bay organization. I have no doubt Green Bay views Baldwin right here as a massive undrafted free agent steal. I would not be surprised at all if he makes his team, and who knows, when it's all said and done, he could be a significant contributor to this Green Bay franchise. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this, but first, Packers fans, in the comment section below, now that we had a chance to take a step back, of course, looking through the undrafted free agents, looking through the draft, who, in your opinion, is the Packers' best pick or best signing if you're looking at undrafted free agents? Do you really like first round? Do you maybe like Baldwin as an undrafted free agent guy? Or somewhere in between? Give us your favorite, the Packers move you think that was the best, and put it in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on this big time move here by Green Bay?
Yeah, and I think this is a great move for Green Bay. I think they got a lot of value out of this guy, and I think what he brings to the table, like you showed, is a high level play, and I think that's one thing that we talk about quite often on this channel is people get too wrapped up in the wrong numbers. People get too wrapped up in size, height, weight, and then what they do at the combine 40 time, bench press, high jump, long jump, vertical, whatever the case is here. People get too wrapped up in those numbers. And I think those numbers are important. I think they serve some value. But I think above all else, you have to look at the play on the field and the statistics they get on the field. I think that's bar none the most important part. And when you look at Baldwin, he did really great things at UNLV on the field. This is a guy who is really great, like you showed. He's as good or a little bit worse, but pretty equal to most of these first and mid-round guys, and he went undrafted. That's incredible value here for the Green Bay Packers. But the other things I think he does, a couple of things I think are so important, is he's a playmaker. This is a guy who got 3.5 sacks last year. This guy can come off the edge and make some plays. This is a guy in the last 2 years got 5 interceptions. So he really does a lot of good things, and then returning some of those interceptions. He had a 63 interception return yards last year on 3 picks. He can do things when the ball is in his hands. That's another thing you want to look for, I think, in undrafted free agents, guys that come in, especially why Green Bay might have liked a guy like this, is it's one thing to get pressures. It's one thing to get defended passes. It's one thing to, maybe even get an interception, but then fall down immediately. You want to look for people who convert. Pressures are good, sacks are better. If you got a guy that converts sacks off the edge, like Baldwin here, 3.5 sacks last year, very, very good. If you've got a guy right here in Baldwin, you talk about interceptions, gets 3 interceptions, not passes defended, very, very good. Then at the same rate, if he can get those interceptions here, and we're talking about your return yards, if he could do something a little bit, it flip the field position, get you in a better opportunity to score, that's good. 63 return yards. This is a guy who, once he gets the ball, he can do a little bit of something with it. So I think that's really important when you're looking at undrafted free agents, to go and try to find a guy like Baldwin, and that you can say, hey, this guy, he's underrated, maybe because his stats, maybe because maybe because his combine performance, his grades, how he did, testing wise. But you look at his play on the field, this is a guy that makes stuff happen. This is a guy that is, by all accounts, very versatile. He played over 700 snaps at free safety, but he was able to come up in the slot. He was able to be in the box over 4 seasons at UNLV. Did a lot of really great stuff. So I just think this is the kind of player that you need. I think Green Bay hit this one out of the park. He's a versatile playmaker. He can fit in at different positions. This is a guy that maybe not starting right away, but he can start to rotate in. And if you have a guy that can rotate in multiple positions, I think that's really, really important. 2, he actually makes plays. He converts on them. We saw the interceptions. We see, the interception returns. We see the sacks as well. And then 3, you got to find a guy with a little bit of value, and they definitely did here. So overall, I think this is a fantastic pickup for the Packers. I think this just shows this is how you get undrafted free agents. You got to find someone who stands out. And to me, specifically, Baldwin definitely stands out.
Yeah, I think bringing up the fact that he makes the plays is really important, because what the score, the athletic score, the reason people slide because of it is because they look at someone's 40 or whatever testing result and say, can, with those testing result, with that 10-yard shot or whatever it is, right? It's like, can he actually make the play? That's the concern if he doesn't test well. Well, we've seen in college that he did and can, right? So the concern is, I think, mitigated by the fact he was such a big playmaker down the stretch. And I think his versatility is incredibly important, incredibly valuable, right? He's taking snaps all over the field, in the box, at deep safety, at slot corner. He can line up anywhere. He's a football player in the truest sense of the word, but he's also a great team guy, because even as a senior, even as a veteran, all-conference player at UNLV, he was still taking significant snaps on special teams. Last year, he took 59 snaps on punt coverage, 44 snaps on field goal extra point block, 13 snaps as a punt return, 11 snaps on kick coverage, right? For those of you who aren't familiar, especially at the collegiate level, these special teams positions, they're not, and the same thing would be true for the pros, to be totally honest, they're usually not reserved for starters. It's usually reserved for backups and things like that. Get them a little playing time. You don't want to wear your starters out. You have a guy here in Jonathan Baldwin who's such a team guy. It reminds me of, that old Bill Belichick thing where he'd have starters on with the Patriots on special teams just because they were better at it. A lot of times starters basically are hesitant, they're resistant, don't want to do it. Baldwin did it, and he did it as a senior. He did it as an all-conference player. So yeah, put me out there at field goal extra point block. I'm happy to come off the edge and sacrifice my body, maybe try and block a kick. Yeah, I'll go out there and cover kicks and then go out there and play a million different positions on defense going forward. This guy is a football player. He is a playmaker. He's a team leader. He's an all-conference kind of guy. The concerns with his measurables are very valid. We'll have to see how he executes over the coming mini camps, training camp, preseason, and then if he makes a team regular season and beyond. But one thing's undeniably clear. The Packers got a great team guy who has a high level of production, who's incredibly versatile. These are the kind of moves, these undrafted free agent pickups just like these that have the chance to be massive steals. And I think when it's all said and done, it's highly likely the Packers got a special one here in Jonathan Baldwin.